Okay.
Yes.
Good evening, everyone, and how are you today? Okay, for a collection of voyeurs, not bad. For an audience, try again. How are you this evening? Thank you very, very much. Welcome to our great and wonderful, this is our third time around doing the spoken word meltdowns. This time around, the charity that we are supporting are, and excuse me because I always have difficulty getting this one right. Thankfully, Ann was smart enough to give me a cue card. We are supporting the Nebraska Domestic Violence Sexual Assault Coalition, which proves that despite Jerry Ficklin's best attempts, I'm still sober enough to read. So, as you notice, we do have the bucket over there. If you happen to have a couple of spare bucks, please toss it in. The people could use all the support you could give them. So we're going to get things started this evening. I'm not sure if Ann has anything she would like to say to the audience.
Hello and welcome.
Yay! And allow me to pass it off to Doc Sanguinary, please.
Alrighty here. Before we get started, I put a roll of tickets up on the table there and a pen. So if any of you would like to try your luck at winning some passes for Creature Feature Live this Saturday, put your name on the back of the ticket and throw it in the coalition bucket, and I'll pick some winners during the first break.
Yeah!
We're showing Creature from the Black Lagoon, a classic. So put your name on a ticket, throw it in the bucket. All right, before we get started, tonight's subject is love. Love. Yeah, I kind of figured. I figured I'd get it kind of kicked off here, but let's backtrack a week or two to Valentine's Day. I kind of want to tell you about the first heart I broke right here in Nebraska. Now, back in the 1970s, things were a little harder when you were a kid, okay? Now, if you all recall, you got those little boxes of Valentine's Day cards. You got about 30 cards in a box, and 20 of them, let's say they were Peanuts cards, okay? 20 of them sucked. They were Charlie Brown and Lucy and whatnot. And then there were 10 that were really good. They had Snoopy on them and sparkles and glitter and stuff. And then there was the teacher's card. Well, when you were in grade school back in the day, like the 70s, or I don't know if they had Valentine's cards in the 60s. I'm not seeing any people shake their heads, so I can see that. Anyway, I moved here in 4th grade. And, you know, 4th grade, when you're a boy, you're like, okay, I'm in 4th grade. I shouldn't be wetting my pants. You know, I can't bring my Matchbox cards to school, but I could, like, do little secret trades out in the playground for Kiss bubblegum cards and stuff. The girls, on the other hand, completely different. 4th grade. We knew that in 6th grade, way down the hall over there at Fort Crook Elementary School in Bellevue, 6th grade, they got to watch the sex education film. Okay? Now, we had some friends that had older brothers and stuff that saw it, and they said, yeah, you know, the boys film that all the boys watched, it said you grew hair all over the place and you ended up smelling like a goat. The girls one, they said, you know, you start growing out here, growing out there, growing hair, and being a bitch once a month. Well, the girls in 4th grade, they decided that they would work on the bitch part without the pesky hormones in the way quite yet. So as Valentine's Day approached, what they would do is all us boys would be out there and 2 weeks before Valentine's Day outside in the recess freezing, maybe thinking about playing frozen tetherball or something, and the cutest girl in class would come up and go, oh, you know, I got a question for you. And we're like, yeah, what? They're like, oh, well, who do you like in class? We're like, who do we like? Well, my friend Alex goes, well, I kind of like Susan. She's like, okay. My friend Steve's like, well, I kind of like Beth. And she's like, well, who do you like? And I'm like, well, I like anybody I can get. But I don't know. I guess I like Mary. She's okay. And she's like, oh, well, what do you think of, you know, Jeanette? And I'm like, Jeanette? Well, She's okay. And I said, but do you like her? I'm like, what do you mean, like her? You know, like her. And I'm like, well, like. No. So easy enough. So she goes tootling off, and she goes hanging out with all her little gal pals, and they're all clucking away and stuff, and we go back to swapping 3 Gene Simmons cards for an Ace Frehley, and everything's cool. Bell rings, we go back inside the class. We're all hanging up our coats. I'm like one of the last guys to get in, and there's Jeanette at her desk crying her eyes out. All the girls are around her, and the female teacher's there. And I'm like, oh, great, what's going on here? You know, I figured, you know, we're in 4th grade, so maybe she, halfway through the school year, she's having a mental breakdown because she couldn't conjugate the verbs in Cat in the Hat. No, that wasn't the case. Anyway, the teacher kind of busts things up, and we go to our seats, and Jeanette clears up, and everything's fine. Bell rings, we're leaving class. Teacher's like, you, come here. I got to talk to you for a minute. And I'm like, oh, boy. And she's like, what did you say to Jeanette? And I said, I didn't say anything. She's like, oh, well, she was crying and very upset because you said you didn't like her. And I said, no. You don't understand. I was out there dealing 3 Gene Simmons for an Ace Frehley, and this girl comes up and asks if I like her. And I just said no, because I'm in 4th grade. I'm not ready to get married. And the teacher looks at me and laughs and shakes her head and sends me on my merry way. And I felt like an ass for the rest of the year because I had to look at Jeanette and her big puppy dog eyes and break her heart knowing that she would never end up marrying me and getting divorced eventually. So anyway, that's how I broke my first heart. I'm going to let some other people come up here, and they're going to talk about love, maybe broken hearts, maybe warm puppies. I don't know. We're going to find out. So our first contestant is Allison Ficklin. Come on down. Get it.
I got short legs. Hi. Wow. Hey. So the theme's love. And for 10 years I've been saying that I'm really not good at writing about love. I'm really good at writing about, I don't know, sex and prostitutes and alcohol. But yeah, not love. And as it turned out, over the last 10 years, I accidentally fell in love.